Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this particular video, we're gonna do a little sit and talk video about, as you can see on your screen, Hounds of Morkai, which are Space Wolves equivalent to Reavers, except they actually do more than Reavers, and I believe they have value, and I believe they have a lot of good value for their points and for what they can do. They can actually steal you points throughout the game. And we're going to go over 4 different ways we can do that. Let's just get into it. Alright, so just taking a look at the file card. They got basic Space Marine, Primaris Space Marine stuff. You got a 6-inch movement, you got a 3-inch weapon skill, 3+ weapon skill, 3+ ballistic skill, 4 strength, 4 toughness, 2 wounds, 2 attacks, 7 leadership, and 3+ save. And the leader gets 1 extra attack, 1 extra leadership. They have a special issue pistol, old pistol, which is 12 inches, pistol 1, strength 4, -2 AP, and 1 damage. They do come with a combat knife that does it's strength 4, it's 0 AP, and it's 1 damage. They do get an extra attack, so each time the bearer fights, make one additional attack. So that puts the attacks up to 3 plus 3 base for the regular guys and 4 for the pack leader. And obviously, if you combine this with shock assault, it's 21 attacks. It's 4 attacks plus the extra one for the pack leader, so it's 21 attacks. They have a grapple launcher, which basically ignores. It lets you put them in outflank and ignores vertical distances. If they make a normal move, advance, fall back, ignores. It does not count the vertical distances in the movement. Here's where I think you're going to get some value out of Hounds of Morkai over regular Reavers in the Space Marine Codex. Remember, Hounds of Morkai are Space Wolf's version of Reavers, right? So here's where you make your money with these guys. We're going to break this down into 4 different parts, okay? 4 different parts that are going to make Reavers Hounds of Morkai worth their money. Point number 1 is they hunt enemy Psyhers. What do I mean by this? If you look at the abilities, Hunters Beyond Death. Models in this unit ignore lookout, sir, if the target is a Psyker. In addition, each time a model in this unit makes an attack against an enemy Psyker, add 1 to the attack roll and add 1 to the damage characteristic of that attack. Now they are Space Wolves, they get Hunters Unleashed, it's already +1, so you can't stack that. So they're already hitting on 2s if they're charged. Heroically Intervene, or charge. Now here's where the +1 attack comes in, is if they are still in combat. If they're still in combat after they are charged or heroically intervene, they then get the +1. So they will always hit on 2s in the fight phase, right? Against an enemy Psyker. Plus, they get extra damage. So your 1 damage that your combat knife is now becomes 2 damage. That is really actually pretty good. Okay. That's not all they do when they hunt Psychers. Mordecai's Howl, which is aura. While an enemy Psyker is within 18 inches of this unit, subtract 1 from the psychic test it takes. While an enemy Psyker is within 6 inches of this unit, subtract 1 additional psychic test that is taken for. So essentially, if they're within 18 inches, you're subtracting 1 from the psychic test. If we can get within 6 inches with these hounds, they all of a sudden it's -2 from your psychic test. That may not seem big, but how many times have we been playing games and someone needs to roll something and boom, they're 1, then they just get it, and all of a sudden we get dealt mortal wounds, right? So this is the biggest thing, or one of the 4 key points that you can use for Hounds of Morkai that can get you points or at least hunt enemy Psychers, right? So they actually will hunt enemy Psychers. Point number 2 is they are durable against mortal wounds. One of the biggest problems that we have as Space Wolf players is the fact that we can we get dealt out mortal wounds like it's crazy. We don't have a lot to combat a mortal wound, right? That's dealt with us in the psychic phase. So the psychic phase seems to be our weakest phase in the entire game, right? So with Hounds of Morkai now, if you put them, it depends on the deployment. Obviously, you got to be very careful how you play these. But if you put these as the closest models, now they have to be targeted for smite, right? So they got the Ruinum Totem, so they have to be targeted. This is point number 2, durability against psychic mortal wounds. Runic Totem. Runic Totem. This unit can only be selected as a target of an enemy psychic power if it is the closest enemy unit to the model manufacturing the psychic power. In addition, each time the unit loses a wound in the psychic phase, roll a d6. On a 4+, that wound is not lost. Essentially, they got storm shields. Well, I shouldn't say it because that's not -1 save, but they got a 4 up feel no pain against psychic powers that dish out mortal wounds. That's another plus. That's another plus that other units can't do. So first 2, we're gonna go over. They hunt enemy psychers, just to refresh, and number 2, they're durable against psychic mortal wounds. Number 3 point of where you're gonna get some value out of these guys. They can help you score points or defend against points against mobs, right? Against against hordes. If you look in your Space Marines book, you have a strat called Tremor Troops for 2 CP. Okay, you can use this on Reavers. Remember that they do have the Reaver keyword, so you can use these for Reavers, but Reavers don't have much value in a regular Space Marine army. This is why I'm making this argument that Hounds do have value. So Tremor Troops, this is point number 3, turns off OBSEC. So it can actually prevent your opponent from scoring points by objective secure and cutting off actions. So Tremor Troops reads this. Use this in your command phase. Select 1 Reaver unit from your army. Number 1, that unit gains the follow ability Tremor Troops, which is a aura. Until the start of your next command phase, while an enemy unit is within 3 inches of this unit, it loses object secure ability and any similar ability that allows them to control an objective marker, regardless of the number of models within range of this objective marker. So guys, we've all been there. You have a 20-man Necron warrior unit that has double OBSEC, and they run to a point, or Scarabs, and they run to a point, or Orcs, or wherever you might be, run to this point. You got 20 men on it, and then we have to try to fight our way through the tar pit to try to get this objective, right? That stops it right away. As long as we get within 3 inches of that objective, and the unit is within 3 inches to our Hounds, they no longer have objective secure. The Hounds of Morkai steal that objective. That is such a big play in a game that can actually sway a game, right? And then to your next command phase, it is 2 CP, but I feel it's well worth the 2 CP. The other part to this Tremor Troops is until the end of the turn, each time the Reaver unit ends a normal move, an advance, or a charge move within 3 inches of an enemy unit performing the action, roll 2d6. If the total exceeds the enemy's unit's leadership characteristic, that action is immediately immediately fails, right? What that means is you set up the objective secured. If they're raising a banner, if they're doing some kind of action, and you roll in there with your Morkai, with your Hounds, they get in there and you roll higher than their leadership. So a lot of it's going to be probably on 9s and 10s and 11s and 12s. If you roll that, no matter what happens to the Hounds, if they end up dying in the fight phase or dying in the fight phase, that action is immediately stopped. So as soon as they get in there and you beat that leadership roll, that action is stopped and they do not score it. Again, this is a big strat for Hounds of Morkai in a Space Wolves unit. Reavers, it could be big, but I don't see the rest of the value in the Reaver, where the Hounds still do the hunting of the Psychers, and they do and they're a little bit more durable. So that's number 3. Number 4 is another strat if you're a Space Marine player, period, and you're not using this strat, then you're missing out. You need to go back and reread the strats. This is such a nice, powerful strat that gives you extra movement, but it really works well, and it really synergizes well with the Hounds of Morkai, doing all so far the 3 little tricks we've already done with them. So Guerrilla Tactics for 1 CP. Use this stratagem in your movement phase when a Phobos unit from your army is more than 6 inches away from an enemy model is selected to move. If the mission you are playing is using strategic rules, which all match play does, place that unit into strategic reserve. So essentially what you're doing is in the movement phase, anytime in the movement phase, you can pick up a Phobos unit, which are Incursors, Infiltrators, and Reavers. In this case, Hounds, that do have the Phobos keyword. You can pick them up in the beginning of your movement phase, and at the end of the movement phase, after you move everything else, you treat them as reinforcements. They can come back in. This can be used as a great tactic to get some extra movement, to deploy scramblers, to maybe put these guys, if someone's holding objectives in the back, some like Neurothopes and things like that, they Tyranids can hold the back objectives with their Psychers or whatever. You could pick these guys up, you can move them back. Now, you got to follow the strategic reserve rules, so that means that you can't put them into your enemy's deployment zone until turn 3, but you can move them around the board for 1 CP. They can get some extra movement. That is a very good ability to have, and especially when you take the Guerrilla Tactics and you apply them to a unit like Hounds of Morkai, which can give you which can turn off objective secure, and you can get in the back and get and clear out that back objectives, because a lot of times they're not being held by troops that are real powerful. Hounds can go through them with 21 attacks, and then there's obviously more strategies in both the Space Marine Codex and the Space Wolf Codex, which gives you like Savage Strike, which gives you +1 to wound. So there's other strats obviously you can stack on that, but you could do that with a lot of different models. I wanted to go over these particular strats with you. So in the wrap up, in the conclusion, just want to conclude with this. You have you got a 110.5 man Reaver unit or Hounds of Morkai unit. They hunt Psychers. They are durable against psychic mortal wounds in the psychic phase. They have a great strat in Tremor Troops, which can literally turn games around, and Guerrilla Tactics, which you can use. It just synergizes really well with this particular unit. So guys, I hope this is helpful for Space Wolf players out there. We can continue to dive deep into these units, try to find some little tricks to give us some competitive edge against the meta. I don't know what your meta is, but my meta right now is demons, chaos demons. So this is kind of what I found to combat that. Let me know how you feel about it. Let me know if you have another little trick or trade that we can go dive into some value. And let me know if this works. If you try it, let me know if it works. If it didn't work, again, it's very situational. However, I think it can be applied in every game that Space Wolf players play to steal objectives, to get points, or to stop your opponent from scoring. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this little unit focus. As always, peace out. God bless.